I loved using movement in my elementary music classroom, and my ORF levels really helped me expand what I taught and how I taught. I'm going to outline how to use movement in the elementary music room as you teach about staccato and legato. This is a fun and engaging multi-lesson plan for maybe pre-K, but for sure kindergarten, grade 1 and grade 2, and possibly even grade 3 and beyond, depending on your students. First, you have to talk about, when you start movement, expectations and essential agreements. The main essential agreement is you will move silently. If you don't insist on this, then it gets out of hand quickly. And it's easy to talk about the kids when you do this, because you say, we're going to listen to some music, and if people are talking or making sounds, what's the problem there? And they're immediately going to come up with, well, we can't hear the music. Well, no, you can't. And so that's easy to talk about. And you have to revisit it once you start, because they'll forget and things will happen. The number 2 essential agreement, of course, is that there's no touching unless you're doing a partner activity. And as you move out of your personal space and move around the room, you have to be really careful to keep your hands to yourself. That means not touching other people, not touching things as well. So next you have to pick your music. I have a Spotify playlist that I'll link below, and you can look at what I've chosen as some of the examples for staccato and legato, and you can certainly use mine, or maybe it will give you an idea, spark an idea of what you think you might use. I'm going to use Leroy Anderson's syncopated clock. I've used it many times. I'm really familiar with it, and it's great for staccato and legato. So the first thing I do is, when the students come in, I say, we're going to learn to speak some Italian today. Echo me. And I would be very silly, and I'd say pizza, spaghetti, legato, staccato, mamma mia. And I would do things like that. And then I would explain what staccato and legato meant. And I would describe it as staccato is quick, short sounds, and legato is smooth and connected sounds. And then a visual would be bubbles that you might be popping, or for staccato, and for legato it might be moving through glue or water or mud, something that makes things connected. And you can pick whatever visuals you want, clues, and to help them remember what they're doing. So the multi-lesson format is day 1, introduce things. Day 2, a quick show what you know. Day 3, add props. Day 4, show what you know. Very quick. Day 5, add instruments. Day 6, a real quick show what you know. So let me get into the specifics of how I would do this. So day 1, I've introduced the Italian words and staccato and legato, and in our seats, we're just sitting there. And I'm going to say, for staccato, I want us just to quickly just tap our legs lightly, or tap in the air. I would pick one of those to do, and we do everything together. And legato would be we're moving our hands, floating our arms in the air. Then I would play the music, and they would just follow me. They don't know where the changes are. They haven't heard the music before, probably, and so they're just following me. I'm introducing them to the staccato and legato sections. In that same lesson, the next thing we would do is, we've been sitting down, so we're at a lower level. We're going to stand up. We're going to use some locomotor and non-locomotor movement. I'm going to introduce locomotor to them, or if they've been introduced to it, I'm going to remind them of what that means. For staccato, I want you to hop on one foot. Now that's kind of hard to do, and it could be that you would need to revise that for, this is your non-locomotor. You could do it where they're just going to stand in their spot, and they're gonna pop bubbles. Now this might cause a problem too, but pop, pop, they want to say those words, and so you would have to go back on that. If that's going to be a real problem, then it could be something where you say you're going to tap stars, something related to something light that they're not going to verbalize. And then for the legato, they're going to float around the room. There's where you're going to talk about you don't touch anybody, you don't touch anything, and they're going to float around the room. The beauty in adding non-locomotor and locomotor is that it's a very obvious visual clue when they stop one and go to the next. If 95% of the room stops their floating and goes back to doing this, the people who didn't quite hear it, they're going to visually see it, and they're going to make that adjustment. That's what is really great about keeping those two together right at the beginning. And then the last thing we're going to do is, so we've been sitting, we've been standing, and we may have done some things a little higher up, but then we're going to lie down on our back. And I'm introducing to them that there's nothing that's out of the realm of possibility as long as it's safe. So we're going to lie down our back, and I'm going to say, let's see, for staccato, let's poke the air. And for legato, I want you to lift your feet up into the air, and I want you to move your feet back and forth. And I would get out on the floor, I'm lying on my back, and we're showing this. It feels so good when you do that too. It's such a release and a relief for your body to be able to lie back on your back and have your feet in the air and you're moving around like this. It's the most wonderful thing. But it also expands their thinking into, well, okay, she must think this is okay. As long as we're being safe and nobody's talking and we're listening, I'm good to go with it. And I've introduced kind of another level and realm of possibility. So now it's time for creating. They have all these different ideas, and you say, okay, it's time for you to make up something. Don't use anything we've already done. Show me when you hear staccato. Show me when you hear legato. And remember, we need to move silently. And then put the music on, and after about a minute, stop the music and tell what you've noticed. And this is really important because it lets them know that you appreciate a variety of things. You don't want everybody to be doing the same thing. After about a minute, stop the music and quickly go over what you noticed. Your ideas for staccato and legato are so creative. I saw someone low tapping toward the floor, and someone else looked like they were tapping clouds way up high. I love how you use those different levels. And then I saw someone moving forward through water, and somebody else was moving backwards like they were trying to move back in a big puddle of mud. That was so cool for legato. And so you're introducing that kind of a situation of what you noticed. Then you put the music back on, and you can't believe then, of course, they're going to do the ones you just said because you pointed them out. But they'll start to do other things. The more you notice, the more variety you notice, the more variety they'll give you. All right, so that's a big day one. And now we're on to day two. As they enter, you put on the same song, and they just show what they know as they come in the room. You don't talk, you don't say anything. If you need to, you can pull someone aside, you can give silent gestures, whatever, and they're going to show what they know after that introduction on day one. So day two is a quick show what you know. If the piece is 2 minutes long, that's all you're doing that day. And then you go on to day three, and you're starting to use props. So let's say for the props, you're going to use scarves, and you give everybody one scarf. And you say to them, show me staccato and legato with your scarves. Put the music on, and after 1 minute, stop and notice what they did with the scarves. You know, you'll see someone who's flicking low for staccato or someone who's flicking high. There'd be occasionally where I would make something up because I would see that they were not using some element. So I would say something like, I saw someone flicking during staccato and they were turning in a circle. And then of course I'd put the music back on and everybody would start to turn in a circle for a while. But it just gave them some other idea. It broadened their background knowledge of what they might possibly do. So that was so cool. When you stop and tell them what you noticed, that is such a cool thing to do. Then after they've used the scarf, you, depending on the class and the grade level, you can, and of course older is a little easier, but you can partner them up. So between the two of them, they have 2 scarves, and you can say, now with your partner, show me staccato and legato. If you want to give them 20 seconds, say, I'm going to let you talk about it for just 20 seconds, see if you have any ideas, and then put the music on and see what you have. Then you're going to stop the music and say what you noticed. And of course, you're noticing things where some people are staying independent even though they may be looking at their partner, whereas others, this is what you notice, even if you don't notice it. And you can say, I saw someone take the other end of their partner's scarf, and on legato, it looked like they were moving smoothly back and forth with that scarf. All right, so that's day 3. And day 4, they come in the room, and it's another quick activity. They're coming in and they're doing a quick show what they know. And they don't have a scarf. They're just using the movement. They're using the room, and that's it. Day 5, it's instruments. Some instruments aren't going to work. Sticks and drums work really well for staccato legato. You can say, you have the drum. They don't have the drum at this point, and say, what could I do to make a short sound like staccato? And you know, they're going to say, tap with your finger. They'll have different ideas. In staccato is the easier one, right? And then say, well, how am I going to make a smooth connected sounds with legato? And they're going to say, maybe go like this. They go, well, that might work. And then somebody's going to figure it out that if you rub your hand on the drum, that's where you might have the smooth connected sound, to have a sound with duration that's somehow going to be connected. They're going to figure out, or you know, going in a circle. And then they all get drums, and or maybe at that point half get, if you don't have enough, half can get a drum, and half just use their bodies to show what they know. They can get in partners and give one the drum and the other moves around the room, and then they switch. Then you could also try sticks, because the taps obviously could be the staccato, and then the rubs on the sticks could be your legato. And then we're finally to day 6, where as they come in, they're going to show what they know. And I say come in the room, but it could also be at a point in the class where there is a transition. It could be the end of class, but I loved it at the beginning because I didn't speak. I turned it on. They heard that music and they went out creating, exploring. It was one of my most favorite things to do. They will grow in their creativity the more they do things like this. In those 6 days, it might be about day 4 when there's a quick show what you know. It may be further in the lesson that I introduce a new movement activity that takes a little longer. So we're doing 2 movement activities. One is the quick staccato legato they've already learned, and the other one is an introduction to something new. Or maybe it's a song they haven't heard yet and it has staccato and legato in it, and they're going to listen to it for the first time and try to figure out where those places are and show their movement to it. So there we have it. Lots of ideas to teach staccato and legato. If you want to know more, hop on over to oodlesofmusic.com for all my best ideas.